What's the weirdest reason you got in trouble with the police? It started when our principal banned sign language after claiming kids were using it for secretive gang signs. My younger brother was hard of hearing and we used ASL at home, but with the rule he had to rely on lip reading and his hearing aids during the day. Without signs, he missed half of what teachers said and pretended to understand when he didn't. His grades tanked because he couldn't ask for clarification without exposing that he wasn't following along. I taught him to always sit in the front row where he could see teachers' faces clearly. We developed subtle signals that didn't look like sign language, just scratching our nose or tapping the desk to mean yes or no. He became an expert lip reader out of necessity, studying mouth shapes the way other kids studied flashcards. During fire drills, I'd make sure he followed me since he sometimes missed the announcements if his hearing aids were acting up or the batteries died, which happened constantly because the school nurse kept confiscating his extras, saying they could be drug paraphernalia. The hardest part was watching him struggle through presentations and group work where multiple people talked at once and he couldn't track who was speaking. Teachers thought he was shy or slow, not understanding he was missing entire conversations. One teacher even recommended him for special education evaluation, not because he was hard of hearing, but because she thought he had cognitive delays. I wanted to interpret for him so badly, but even finger spelling would get us both suspended. The principal had already given warnings to 3 deaf students who'd accidentally signed to each other in the hallway, calling their parents about defiant behavior. He started having anxiety attacks about school, sitting in class terrified someone would ask him something he didn't hear. I'd see him at lunch, alone because he couldn't follow conversations in the noisy cafeteria, pretending to read so nobody would try to talk to him. His audiologist said his hearing was getting worse from the stress, that he was experiencing selective auditory shutdown from the constant strain of trying to understand without visual language support. The doctor wanted to write a letter to the school requiring ASL accommodation, but my parents knew that would just get him labeled as a troublemaker. During chemistry class, someone knocked over a cart full of chemicals that created toxic fumes when they mixed. The teacher screamed for everyone to get to the emergency shower station while she grabbed the gas masks from the storage cabinet. The alarm was blaring so loud it hurt, and thick yellow smoke was filling the room. The teacher was trying to shout instructions through the plastic mask, but even I could barely understand her muffled voice saying something that sounded like not, or stop, or hot. Everyone was pushing toward the emergency shower thinking that's where we were supposed to go, but the teacher was actually saying not to go there because the spill was spreading that direction. Through the chaos and the fogged up masks, I saw my brother following the crowd toward the contamination. He couldn't hear the teacher's corrections through the alarm, and couldn't read her lips through the thick plastic mask. His hearing aids were screaming feedback from the alarm, and I could see him pulling at his ears in pain while still moving the wrong direction. I raised my hands to sign, but stopped, knowing there were cameras everywhere. My brother was about to walk directly into the toxic spill that was eating through the floor tiles, actually dissolving them into smoking black puddles. Other kids were pulling their friends back, but nobody knew my brother needed help. The teacher was dealing with the kids closest to the spill, not seeing him heading the wrong way. Someone had already collapsed near the contamination, their skin turning red where the fumes touched it. There was no choice. I jumped onto a desk so he could see me over everyone's heads and signed, "Stop danger chemical there," pointing to show the spill spreading toward the emergency shower. Then signed, "Come here, safe exit this way," using big, clear signs he could see through his fogged mask. He immediately changed direction, and I kept signing to guide him and 4 other kids who followed him to the safe exit. My signing probably saved them from chemical burns that the 3 kids who reached the contaminated area ended up getting on their legs and arms. When the paramedics arrived, they said anyone who'd gotten close to that particular chemical combination would need immediate treatment for lung damage. My brother had been heading straight for the worst of it. The hazmat team said the spill area would have caused permanent respiratory damage to anyone who walked through it without proper protection, and 1 kid was already being life-flighted to the burn unit. The next morning, the principal called me to his office. He had the security footage paused on his computer screen, showing me standing on the desk with my hands clearly forming ASL signs. My brother was already there, sitting in the corner chair with his face pale. "Your brother told me he would have died without your gang signs," the principal said, making air quotes. "But that's exactly what a gang member would say to protect another gang member, isn't it?" He picked up his phone and started dialing. "I've already reported this to the police as suspected gang activity. They're very interested in speaking with both of you."